and I'll share some more details with you. So we have quite a few details, but they are not 100% finalized. So we will finalize them for Friday, and we'll start implementation also. But today I'm going to share with you what we have already decided and give you some insights into that. So let's get going. So first of all, just as a refresher, the Passport program is a solution we've designed to manage the Vitru token supply dynamics as we transition. But it's really not unipurpose as evident from sort of a supply perspective. We intend for this to be sort of a controlling mechanism where we can reward supporters in different ways. So the Passport will be used initially for supply management, also for access to our privileged Vitruveo Insiders Discord channel that is coming up. But then in the future, we're making the architecture of it flexible so we can keep adding these kind of perks, incentives, access controls, etc., for the folks in the community who are really there, who are stepping up for the blockchain. So that's the intended purpose of the Passport. Now, here's the workflow of how it's gonna how we're gonna issue them. So it starts off with you submitting a Passport request. That request then gets added to a queue. A part of your request is automatically evaluated. It's scored using just the data that's on chain, and a part of it is manually evaluated by a moderation team. There's going to be two teams, one team for general users and one team for the creators. The results of both those evaluations are fed into a decision engine, and based upon that decision engine, there's either a Passport issued or the request is deferred. We have no concept of a rejected request. We feel like the data is always changing, and so it is possible for us to go back and reevaluate the request, rescore it, and then the Passport might be issued. So this is kind of a living workflow, and how we will specifically implement it, we'll share with you on Friday. But for right now, this is in general a very high-level view of the workflow. So there's a little more detail I can add, which is about the actual request. So we'll be adding to Scope a page where you'll be able to submit your request. All information submitted is confidential. We have no desire to publish anything, and it is only for the purpose of issuing the Passport, after which the data is discarded. We don't need it. You can submit the following information, any socials you may have. So for general users, that would be connecting your Discord ID. You will actually go through the process of connecting it, not just submitting it. And for creators, you can either connect Telegram or X. If you're not active on Telegram, that's fine. If you're active on X, that's what you would connect with. So your socials are important. The next item would be the wallet where your Passport should be issued. This could be the wallet you're connected with in Scope, or it could be any other wallet. It's really indeterminate. But remember that a Passport is soul-bound. So in other words, it's tied to you and is not transferable. So that choose that wallet carefully, because once it's issued there, it cannot be moved, and it will be there forever. Optionally, you can submit multiple wallets that we can scan for Vitruveo tokens. So you would have to sign for each of those to prove that you have ownership of those wallets. You can sign as many as you want. Optionally, you can submit transaction hashes that would be considered in the manual portion of the evaluation if you wish. If there's something out of the ordinary, something that maybe is not detectable from the automated scanning. So that's what the transaction hashes would be. Hopefully you would not need to submit any of that, but I'm sure there are edge cases where this would be needed. And finally, if you're a creator, you would need to submit your vault address. So we need to know what your vault address is so that we can scan it and determine what wallets are associated with it, and so on and so forth. So that's a really high-level view of the request. The idea is that we understand the reality that everyone doesn't work with just one wallet. They work with multiple wallets. So the idea is you tell us which wallet you want your passport in, and you tell us which wallets you want us to look at for gathering data about what tokens you've purchased and things like that. All right. Now, next up, let's look at one very important thing. But first, a sip of chai. Passport is optional. Okay. It's entirely feasible that you are not interested in this, and it's your choice. You only need one if you want access to the upcoming Vitruveo Insiders Discord channel, or you want early access to wrap or bridge for the DEX or SEX. Once there's adequate liquidity, the wrap and bridge is going to be open to all. So we have no idea what that time period is going to be. We hope it's going to be as short as possible. We certainly don't want to keep it any longer than needed. But just remember, Passport is entirely optional. If you have no desire to trade right now, then you don't need it. If you just want it for the Vitruveo Insiders access, you may submit it. But again, that is entirely optional. All right, let's keep going. Let's look at the evaluation categories. So there are 3 evaluation categories. Category number 1, it could be either or. So if you are a general sort of crypto investor in the community, then you would submit information in category 1 for capital, which is an automated scan. And what we would be doing is we would evaluate your coin token purchases and, more importantly, your sales. So we would infer those from the wallets you've submitted. If you are a creator, category 1 is manually evaluated. We would look at have you been a responsible artist in our ecosystem? Have you, for example, not flooded the platform with low quality art? Do you have price parity of your artwork here with generally other platforms where you are? Because we know that there are a few artists who are bad actors who have 5, 10, 15x the price that they set on other platforms on Vitruveo, and we don't consider that good behavior. So anyway, it's going to be a manual evaluation of that. So that's category 1. Category 2 is also manual, and that's your community engagement, participation, etc. So it's I think most moderators that we have or support staff in the case of creators have a pretty good idea of who the active people are, who are more active, who are more engaged, who are helpful to other people, who are just generally participating on social media and in our community channels. So we're not looking for people who are necessarily about promoting the platform so much as being supportive of others and being a good community citizen. That's kind of what we're looking for. And yes, it's a subjective thing measure, but I think for the most part, it's very easy to discern if someone is being a good member of the community or being a member of the community who's either not supportive or not participative. Remember, all of this is optional and really not designed to be punitive. The third category is staking, which is also automated in terms of measurement. And here we track your record of staking tokens, and we are mostly interested in your staking ratio. So if you've got a huge balance of coins, but you maybe only staked 5% or 10% of that, that's not a favorable ratio, and the scoring would take that into account. But if you've got even a small amount, but you've staked most of it, that's a favorable ratio. But we algorithmically take both the size and the ratio into account in evaluating this portion of it. All right. So now let's look at the scoring. The scoring is pretty simple. We are not going to give any numerical scores, but because we want to have ranges, because there is no absolutes here. It's a lot of gray area, and we want to respect that. And so in each category, you're going to have either a low, medium, or a high score. So that's going to be based upon algorithmically taking all this data and putting it in. Now, this is going to be a learning experience. We're 100% not going to get it right on day one. We might have to finesse the algorithm a bit, which is why it's important to note that in the workflow, we said there is never a rejection. It's always a deferral. Maybe the engine is updated and then it comes forward as an issue, whereas before it would have been deferred. But our goal is to have ranges so that a point here or a point there won't make a difference. It's about in general, where does this person fit for this particular category? So you have low, medium, and high. Now, based on this, what we have is 3 types of passports. We've got a silver, a gold, and a black passport. And thanks to Mike for creating those graphics. The passport types will determine your levels of access and how are you going to be granted or issued rather a silver or gold passport. That's based upon the scoring in the 3 categories. So it's fairly straightforward. To have a black passport, you would have to have 3 high values. In other words, in all your 3 categories, you would get a high value. If you were to get a gold passport issued, you would have to have a high value in at least 2 of the categories, and you could have a low or medium value in any of the others. For a silver one, you would need to have at least 2 mediums, and your other 2 and you could have a high or a low in the other one. Now, the supply is going to be distributed, the access to the supply based on the type of passport you have. So if you have a silver, the supply, you have 20% of the supply that's available. Gold, you have 30%, and for black, you have 50%. So how is the supply determined? Well, so first and foremost, only passport holders may wrap or bridge Vitru until there's adequate liquidity. So just re-emphasizing that. Now the quota, the supply, is algorithmically maintained. We learned a little bit from the circuit breaker. We're not going to have a daily thing at a certain fixed time where bots are just waiting to get at it. So first of all, bots will not be able to do anything because you have to have a passport. So that is taken care of. Secondly, we want to distribute things for every time zone. So the supply that is there is actually measured in 6-hour blocks so that it spans various different time zones. So how this algorithm works, we'll give some more details on that on Friday. But today we wanted to let you know about the categories, the workflow, the types of passports that are available, and the supply that would be available. At the end of the day, you don't have to participate in any of this. You can just sit back, relax, and watch other people do it. But if you want to, you can submit your information. And if you get issued a passport, then great. You can just go and try and wrap or bridge. And depending on the algorithm, it may or may not allow you. And it'll tell you, you can do it or you can do it, and so on and so forth. So this is a long-term platform we are putting into place because, as I mentioned, passport is not a one-time thing. We will have future needs where we want to introduce things. For example, we might have a new airdrop or something, and we want to give preference to the members of our community who are supportive. We haven't yet made decisions on the longevity of your passport level, whether it's black or gold or silver. We have to think a little bit through on how long it stays that way before it has to be reissued. So lots of decisions to be made, very short amount of time. We're doing the best we can. And so that's kind of what we've figured out so far. And I think that is the end of the information we have to share for today. So we'll make this deck available for you shortly, but we can go dive right into questions now. So we'll start taking those, but I'll leave this up here. I think it's pretty images.
It's an unorthodox approach because what is the need of the passport? Normally, you would not take a structured, controlled approach to ROI or supply management in this type of sense. And this really comes from the vested supply that in the granted supply that we gave the OGs, me being one of them. It's kind of like a Black Friday sale. If you just open the doors and there's 50 million people waiting outside and they all rush in, it's just chaos. And it's not a very effective or productive way to manage our pre-list strategy. So as opposed to that, coming up with a real nice structured, orderly way where people can ROI, people can purchase, people have more confidence that it's not just the wild, wild west and everybody is just scrambling to grab liquidity. It's a very structured, organized way of doing it. And I think the results of the chart show that. So I'm in massive support of this. I think things should be done in an orderly way, and giving a chance for liquidity to build, giving a chance for price to really do its thing and grow. The price potential is so much stronger right now, and I think it just complements everything, every single goal that we have in order to go to market with our MVPs. So I'm super excited about everything, and it seems like the feedback from the community is everybody's jazzed about it.